ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। The source of the alienation we saw yesterday is from Ishvara, because that is where the rub is, that is where all the authority issues are, that is where the alienation is most directly felt. And therefore, even though it's easier, perhaps the portal of the Jagat and the Jiva might be easier for some people, this headlong treatment of the alienation between oneself and the whole is the final say, is the final way of eliminating all fear and sorrow. And to that extent, there is cultivated a deliberate relationship between oneself and the source. Even though we say that the source and you are one and the same as it is recognized by the Vakya, Mahavakya, what is that? Tat Tvam Asi. You are non-separate from that source. Yet, on the lived day-to-day level, the separation is not only felt, but kept on being rehearsed in our lives. Therefore, it needs to be eliminated by cultivating this relationship, and this relationship between oneself and Ishvara has to be a relationship that is Saguna, not Nirguna. Saguna means with form. Nirguna is you, formless. Nirguna, the ultimate Swarupa, the nature of Ishvara is Nirguna, free of form, free of names, free of attributes. Satchidananda, that which is existent, that which is sentient, and that which has no complaints, Ananda. This is Nirguna. Nirguna is you, Nirguna is Ishvara. At the level of this Nirguna, there are no problems. There is nothing to talk of. Everything is okay, because Nirguna means there is no, if there are no attributes, there is no second thing either. If there was no second thing, we would not be sitting here. But that second thing, in the form of one's own fears, anxieties, in the form of other people, in the form of Ishvara, continues to prick, continues to torment on the empirical reality. Therefore, the way to understanding Nirguna is through the worship of Saguna, Ishvara with attributes. Ishvara with attributes means with the epithet of overlordship and the other, all knowledge, the other attributes that are there in the forms of the 6 bhagas. The one who has 6 bhagas is called Bhagavan. All knowledge, all wealth, all resources, all strength, all dispassion, complete dispassion, and so on and so forth. The ability, all samarthyam, the ability to put forth, sustain and resolve this universe, all these are called bhagas. So these bhagas are superimposed as it were upon that nirguna which is Satchidananda, which is free of all attributes. And then on the jiva's side also certain things are superimposed, more than 6 actually. Yeah. What are they? Complaints. Yeah. No one can say I have only 6 complaints. Yeah, we would be close to moksha if we said that, okay? Yeah. Not even 60, not even 6,000, not even 6 million. We have more than, infinite number of complaints. Oh, I thought only Brahman is infinite. No, complaints are also infinite. Complaints are also exquisitely infinite. So the same Satchidananda plus this Mithya means the attributes, the as though attributes of complaints, discontent, dissatisfaction, all of which is due to self-ignorance, is the one that is here. And until we encounter the ashram, we feel it is here to stay. Thank God. That is not the ultimate truth. So, this Saguna, this Satchidananda with all these complaints has to relate to as though that Satchidananda who is free of complaints. So, my altar of worship has to be free of complaints. This is common sense. If I am having complaints and I go to another person who has even more complaints, is my complaint going to be relieved? No. It will be like that PhD advisor. One advisor was there. Okay. And student went to the advisor. Student said, I'm having a very hard time. My parents are pressuring me to get this degree and finish this, all my requirements. And plus I'm not feeling well. I have some problems, health issues. Plus some friendship broke up, so I'm sad and I'm grieving. And and all these deadlines are coming. I don't know how to do this. And what did the advisor say? Pulled her into the office. And the advisor said, you think you have problems? Wait till you hear my life. My third husband is divorcing me. And 2 of my 3 children do not talk to me. And one exotic plant I got from Japan is dying, bonsai. And then what else? The dog has some issues and some health issues, and already $850 I have spent in various diagnostic tests and everything, and nothing is happening. Plus, I also have some health issues. You think you have health issues? Wait till you see my health records. And I have so many health issues that you will not know what to do. Now, do you feel better? And the student said quickly, yes, and got out because otherwise there was no way of getting out of the office. So, the altar for the complaints must be a no complaint altar. And when we last checked, Shiva does not complain. What does Shiva do? Go into contemplation. Between complaint and contemplation, very big difference. Shiva doesn't complain. So a suitable altar is there for this reckoning, for this understanding. And this altar, you see, it's all on the level of the empirical reality, because that's where the problems are, that's where the discontent lies, that's where the complaint is, that's where the complaints are, that's where the alienation is most directly felt. So therefore, bringing Ishvara, inviting Ishvara into one's life necessarily means understanding this and relating to Bhagavan as not the final reality, but as an interim step to the understanding the truth of oneself, as a preparatory step. You cannot make a stop on the way your destination. That means what? The whole pursuit is gone then. So you're driving to the ashram and you stop at Starbucks. Yeah. Why? Because you hear there is no caffeine at the ashram. So So when you stop at Starbucks, you don't move in there. Okay, you don't take out your sleeping bag and then you put your tent up there and then you stay in Starbucks only. It is just a stop along the way. So when we confuse the means for the end, then what happens? Not only you mint yourself as a bhakta, as a preparatory person, as a devotee, but you don't stay a devotee. You use the devotion to transform yourself into a jnani, a person of knowledge, who is of course a devotee. But what kind of a devotee? A devotee that knows very well that myself and Ishvara are one. So we also talked yesterday about the not being able to bypass Ishvara. Why? Because we live in a world of complaints, and where does the petition go to? All the complaints, where is the final authority? Who is the final authority? Bhagavan is the final authority. Ishvara is the final authority. So as long as the complaints exist, I need a place for this petition. So this relationship is definitely based on form. You can't have a formless relationship. Everything is form. Even in traditions where we say that God is formless, even we say God is formless, but where the starting point of those religions is that there is no form. But still they are convinced it's a he. You see, this is very interesting. Formless has a gender, and then formless has a location. Where is the location for God? Heaven, somewhere up above. And so there also there is form. There also there is form. Even in interpersonal relationships, we relate through forms. Namaste, hello, hi, how are you doing? These are all forms. Getting a present for somebody, form. Even though you know they are going to tear it up and immediately take it out, still it's a form. And we respect those forms because we relate through forms. Here also we relate through the form. And what is this form here? The form is Shiva, the benevolent one. You don't want to take your complaints to somebody who is very strict, who as soon as you come wags their finger at you. Yeah. You came last time also, you have not transformed, why should I listen to you? Go away. You don't want somebody like that. You want somebody who is very forgiving and benevolent by nature. So we choose this avatara of Lord Shiva, who is very benevolent and forgiving, especially of emotional relapses, of which we have many. Continued and many emotional relapses. And yesterday I said how to relate. Why does Lord Shiva become the recipient of all of one's complaints? How did that happen? Because as I said, Lord Brahmaji said, I didn't create your complaints. That's on you. You take care of it. And Lord Vishnu, what did he say? He said, not me. No, look how nicely I'm dressed. You're going to spit up all your complaints on me. I'm not having it. I'm going for a massage. Goddess Lakshmi is giving me abhyanga. Leg massage she's giving. I'm going to enjoy that on my original coiled mattress. This is how the Bharatnatyam dancer depicts Vishnu lying down. So Lord Shiva says, okay, it's me, fine, nobody else is there, I'm there, no problem. And this is told through a very nice allegory, the allegory of the churning of the ocean. So in this story, first we'll see the story and then we'll see how it fits this, don't worry about the text, I will do it, okay, yeah. In this story, first we'll see the story and then we'll see how this story fits into this particular rubric of relieving our complaints. So one time, the Devas and the Asuras, who are Asuras? Who are they? Demons, capitalists, okay? Yeah. And people who only live for themselves. Yeah, though that they are called asuras. Asushu ramate iti. There is a derivation also. Those who live only for themselves, selfish beings who act in beastly ways because their main pursuit in life is what is called sense gratification, sense object, sense organ gratification. Going after sense objects at all costs. These are our idea of demons, not devil or evil. No, in fact, they were all devotees at one time or the other, but they got a sudden hubris like, OMG, I'm the best, east or west, and they started to terrorize everybody. That's what happened, and they started to use the boons they received from Ishvara after prayer, use it against all the people. Like even Bhasmasura. Bhasmasura is the ash asura. Oh, why did he ask for ash? Generally, people ask for cash. Yeah. What did he want? He said, I want ash. He's not thinking. This is what it is. When you go to Bhagavan, generally what people say, give me lots of money. Yes. Here this fellow says, let everything that I touch turn into ash. Ashasura, this is his name. And I told you, Lord Shiva is very gullible. He has done this much tapas, he has done this much prayer, he has stood on in the tree pose for several years and meditated. And so, okay, tadhastu. And then what does Ashasura do? Ashasura says, come here, I want to test on you if this works. Lord Shiva runs. runs. This is just a story. Runs, and then runs where? Of course to Vishnu, and Vishnu says, oh, look at who is in trouble again because of being easily pleased and very, very naive, innocent. That's why he's called Bholenath, means the Lord who is very innocent. Okay, I'll help you out, you owe me another one. All right. And Vishnu dresses up as a goddess and then goes and mesmerizes him and then makes him touch somehow his own head. Ashasura ends up in a heap of ash. So like this, we have these asuras, and all these asuras, they heard that at the bottom of the ocean, what is there? An elixir of immortality. Amritam is there. Ooh, I want that. I want to live forever. Because world domination takes a long time, so I really need to live forever in order to dominate. I want to live forever. I want that. And the Devas said, we want this too. So strangely, for the first time in history, they teamed up. They realized that to get to the bottom of the ocean in an age of no submarines and no oceanographic mapping and all these things was not there. So what to do? You just need to really do everything manually. So then they need a churning rod. At home there is a churning rod and a rope. This is how the olden way of churning. A little wooden stick, and then inside is the buttermilk or milk, and then with the rope it is churned. Sometimes two people churn, if it's like a bigger vat. And here, the whole ocean has to be churned. What to do? Pluck off a mountain, simple. Yeah, now you got your churning rod. We plucked off the mountain, set it in the middle of the ocean. Of course, it was a very huge mountain, and then so it was still showing up. Little bit of it was showing up on top, and now you need a rope. Where should we go for rope? Usually, snake and rope are mistaken for each other. Okay? In Vedanta, we have the analogy where the rope is mistaken for snake. Here we have the opposite. The snake is The snake is made into what? Rope. And so you can't take an ordinary garden snake that you encounter here. It has to be bigger than the mountain. It has to surround the mountain 2.5 times. Plus there has to be room to spare to hold the head and the tail and use the poor thing as a churning rod. So they chose the longest python in the whole entire world and the most poisonous python in the whole entire world, called Vasuki. And then here the Devas got very smart for a change. Devas are also very gullible. And they got very smart and they said, I bet nobody is brave enough to choose to hold the head of the snake. And the Asuras fell into the trap. No, me. I am going to hold the head of the snake. Here, boys, take this. And the Devas held the tail of the snake. And even today, if you go, this is like a pan-Indian allegory. And if you go to the Thailand, Bangkok airport in Thailand, you will see this whole mural. Beautiful mural you will see with the baddies on one side and the good ones on the other side, with this world's longest snake churning the ocean. Okay, so they said, okay, they wrapped this fellow 2.5 times. The head was on the Asura's side, the tail was on the Deva's side. And the churning began. And each time it was churned, the poor snake would go and breathe out poison, and few Asuras would faint, and then one wet hanky was there to revive them repeatedly, and then they had to come back and hold the head. And meanwhile the Devas were also not having an easy time, because the tail in agony would lash out this way and that way. Few Devas would fall off this side and that side, and they had to recover and come and hold on to the tail. And in this way the churning proceeded. All kinds of things came up, because what you want doesn't come before. So before the nectar of Amritam, the pot of Amritam, immortality, all kinds of things came. Fanciful things, wonderful things. White elephant, not the figurative one, the literal white elephant came. And Indra, the king of heaven, said, this befits me, because it's just one of its kind, there's no more. It's custom made, ordered white elephant. He named it Airavata and rode on it and claimed it as his. And then so many things came, and Lakshmi came, goddess Lakshmi. And then, the small things that came, some kind of wish-fulfilling cow came, some other things came. They were apportioned between the Devas and Asuras more or less equally, with the Devas keeping an eye so that the Asuras do not get all the wonderful things that they can mismanage. You can't give the wish-fulfilling cow to Asura. Why? Because the cow comes with a caveat. The cow can only give wishes if you are desireless. Then only you can commandeer the cow. Are the Asuras desireless? No, not at all. And so what is the use of giving them the cow? So they took the cow like this. They just shared the spoils together. And then finally, before the god of healing, the god of Ayurveda, Dhanvantari, came with holding the pot of nectar. A terrible poison came out called Hala Hala. Terrible poison. Here each time the poor snake rope Vasuki breathed, the Asuras would faint. When Hala Hala came out, poor Vasuki himself fainted. You can imagine how toxic it must have been. How terribly toxic it might have been. The poor snake itself fainted, and then the Asuras and the Devas said, oh my God, it's going to just make us all pass out. It cannot be. It was a toxic. It is shown in the cartoons for children and the movies as a toxic plume, because there's no other way of showing it. advancing towards advancing from the ocean, and then coming closer and closer to the people. They could not handle it. Even the asuras were forced to pray. They didn't even know how to pray. They only knew how to pray. That's all. Somehow they also prayed, please help, somebody has to neutralize this poison. And Brahma and Vishnu said, no, this is not our department. Yeah, this is your portfolio. You take this and run. And then Lord Shiva said, okay, I will take it. And he just went like that, made the hala hala into a manageable sip and swallowed it as though. The story goes, Parvati, the goddess, the consort of Lord Shiva, put her hand at his throat so that the poison did not enter the bloodstream. Otherwise, Lord Shiva would not be there for us to do this text. So the poison did not enter the bloodstream. So therefore, it was just held like that and then neutralized. Therefore, he is called the blue-throated one. That is where the poison collects. And this happened on the 12th day of the waxing moon. And so even to this day, the 12th day of the waxing and the waning moon are seen as extremely holy days for worship and prayer in the evening. A special prayer called Pradosha is offered to Lord Shiva. This is the story. Now, what does this have to do with us? Very, very beautiful allegory. The ocean is the unconscious because we don't know what exists in its depths. All kinds of fanciful things like white elephant, etc. can stay, but also before we get to the nature of the self as Amrita, this pot of immortality, it's not really a pot, it is limitless immortality. What has to happen? It is held by goddess Dhanvantari, means there has to be a healing that takes place physically, mentally, emotionally, and in every which way there is a healing that has to take place. And what is this healing? The healing is in the form of emotional growth and maturity. And the hala hala poison is the collective unconscious of all minds. We can't handle our own unconscious mind. We can't handle our triggers. We can barely handle our emotions. We can barely come to grips with whatever is staring us in the face. And here we are told that, so you multiply this one person's unconscious mind with all its problems and its tantrums, you multiply that by 8 billion. This is hala hala. This is hala hala. And the fight between the devas and asuras is a temporary truce. So the warring factions within the heart, the one that wants to follow dharma, the one that wants to follow adharma, have to come to a pact. The war between the forces that do good within myself and the inimical forces in the form of the asuras are all emotions. That's why they have names. Kamasura, Krodhasura, Lobhasura, Mohasura, Madasura, Matsaryasura. Anger, Kama, desire. Desire is okay, but if it goes beyond, if it goes to the level of not minding my business and then where the ends justify the means, then it is done for. It becomes asura. Anger also is justified because it's a valid response to not having my wishes fulfilled. Anger is okay, but it is not okay to direct the anger, target somebody else as a result of the anger, or even target myself as the result of this anger. That is not allowed. That is not okay. Then it becomes Krodhasura if I do that. Lobhasura, greed. Whenever you look at something, the next thought is, oh, I wish I could have it. I wish I could want it. This is okay, fine. It's because it's at the level of the fancy. But if the mind starts plotting, okay, how to eliminate the owner of this object so that I can have this object, then what are we dealing with inside? Lobhasura. Asura in the form of greed, Greedasura. And then what do we have? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, delusion. Delusion between my own pursuits, what I really want and what I end up doing, where I want to go and where I end up. This is delusionasura or mohasura. And then what do we have? Madasura, pridasura. And the pride comes from deep insecurity. It's okay to say, okay, I have a few things, I have done a few things, all right, this is in the level of healthy, what is that called, self-esteem. But then that can very quickly turn asuric when one claims all kinds of things and becomes very egotistical. Then we have Madasura, aka Pridasura. And then what? Envy, jealousy. You have this and I don't. And therefore what? I don't like you because you have this and I don't. Everybody feels a stab of jealousy once in a while. It's okay, it's part of the emotional makeup. But one also, along with jealousy, is given measures to override it. The measures to override the jealousy is given, and the best way to override the jealousy is to praise the very person of whom one is jealous. Just say, good for you, you got this, good for you, you have this. Too bad I didn't get this. You can even voice that, but you are a very good candidate for this. Appreciate the person, and then the jealousy goes away eventually because there is really none other than you. But if these practices are not put into play, then you have Matsaryasura, Jalasyasura. And so these are the asuras. Who are the devas? That godliness which is very close to the nature of the self, the helpful one, the compassionate one, and the one that is free of all kinds of is able to be free of all kinds of complaints, the contented one, the compassionate one, the accommodative one, the non-complaining ones, the inside me, they are the devas. They are the devas, and the ocean that is being churned is the unconscious mind. So in the beginning, all objects of desires and fancies come out, and at the very end, what comes out is the poison. That the second last thing that comes out is the poison of old hurts, pains and sorrows that have not been neutralized, that have not been processed. And without this processing, there is no moksha. No, it is just not possible. You cannot have that. You cannot have moksha without processing the guilt, the pain, the hurt of early childhood. Past life, what happened, we don't know. But this life, we know. And I also hinted yesterday at the fact that all emotions are what? Ishvara alone. So the pain, the sorrow is all what? Ishvara. That's why he takes it. He makes it, quote unquote, part of himself. But he doesn't personalize it. That's why it is not entering the bloodstream. That's why it is stopping right there in its tracks. He doesn't personalize it. He takes it and then lets it be. Lets it be. He neutralizes it by letting it be and depersonalizing it, which is exactly what we need to do. We take things too much, too often, all the time, personally. So depersonalizing the emotion is not being in denial of that emotion. There is a difference. You can't say, what sorrow, what anger. I have depersonalized it. It's your problem, not my problem. If you were not there, I would be neither sad nor angry. Go away, I have depersonalized it. This is not depersonalization. What is this? Denial. This is repression. This is denial. This is not the way to go. Depersonalizing it means looking at it from the compassionate view of Shiva. Looking at it how Shiva looks at it. Looking at it how, in the same way as a mother might look at a tantruming child in front of the toy store. The child has already been given, has had a quote-unquote agreement. What is the agreement? You can go there and you can get one thing. And what does the child want? The entire shop. Entire shop the child wants. Yeah, that's why it's called Toys or Us. The us stands for the poor parents. Toys versus us. Okay? So I want the entire shop. The whole entire shop I want. And then, but the parents are allowing me what? Only one thing. This is not fair. So what am I going to do? Have a tantrum. After going home, no, who has the time for that? Right then and there. And the parents don't get agitated. They just shrug their shoulders. Because they know that this is what it is. This is what it means to be a 2-year-old. This is what it means to have no say over the emotions. And then you can't reason with the child because the child is just a bunch of emotions. You can't reason with a bunch of raga, dvesha, strong preferences and prejudices. So what does the mother do? What does the father do? Smile. And then wait for the tantrum to calm down. Okay, you're feeling better now? Would you like the toy that you chose? Okay, let's go home. This is what we have to do for those emotions. For that tantrumy 2-year-old, within that inner child, we have to be the parents. And if that does not happen, we can kiss this pursuit of gaining emotional maturity, preparing for the knowledge of freedom as oneself, goodbye. So therefore, this allegory tells us that these emotions are manageable when we do two things. When we dedicate them to Bhagavan, when we don't own them up as, oh my God, this is just me. When we don't identify them, and the strategic disidentification with the emotions can only happen when there is an altar to place the emotions, and when there is an altar of understanding the emotions as a large order of Bhagavan, of Ishvara. Only then these emotions can be managed, can be depersonalized, and that is what one wants. That's the first thing. The second thing is to be able to neutralize the emotions, and the best way to neutralize the emotions, which are basically the result of karmic results of past actions, is to pray. Prayer is like an inoculation. When you pray, what happens? The emotions are neutralized. Because prayer is an action, prayer also has results. Two kinds of results are talked about. What is the first result? A sigh of relief, immediate result. Now it is Shiva's problem, not my problem. My anger, my pain, my sorrow, my anxiety is whose problem? Shiva's problem. Give it to him, her. And then there is a immediate release and a relief. This is called Drishtaphala, and then there is also a Adrishtaphala, because prayer creates punya, meritorious actions that are given to you later on. Meritorious actions that are given to you later on. It fructifies later on, and this is what is called, what is this called? Later on is called Adrishta, the invisible results. And what is the emotion? The emotion, I am not enough. The feeling, I am an idiot. The underconfidence, the pain and the sorrow, these are karmic adrishta. Unseen results from past actions, unknown past actions, unseen results from unknown past actions is what we are seeing right now. So that adrishta is countered by this adrishta. It's really like an inoculation. Flu virus, COVID virus. How do you counter that? You take a shot. You take a shot, and then what happens? It goes, and even though it may not stop you, they say, from having the illness is eminently manageable. And so too the prayer neutralizes karma and sorrow, pain and anger connected to past actions. With these words, let us see what this prayer does and how this prayer unfolds. It starts without any preface. It just starts from the Jiva's journey. The Jiva Yatra, the Jiva's journey from what? Womb to the tomb. Yeah. And so here the prayer is interestingly written from the perspective of the child still in the womb. Now the child is an adult, but one is contemplating of the time, how was it when I was in the tummy of my mummy, and what was I doing at that time? And this is the first few verses, are the first three stages of life. Adau karma prasangat kalayati kalusham matra kukshau sthitam mam vinmudra medhya madhye kathayati nitaram jatharo jatavedaha यद्यद्वै तत्र दुःखं व्यथयति नितरां शक्यते केन वक्तुम् क्षन्तव्यो मे पराधः शिव 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 भो श्रीमहादेव शम्भो. This last line we can memorize and chant together. क्षन्तव्यो मे पराधः शिव 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 भो Shri Mahadeva Shambho. Would you like to repeat that? Kshantavyo me Paradha Shiva 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 Bho Shri Mahadeva Shambho. Yeah. So, Adau means in the beginning. In the beginning of what? My journey, Jivahood. What did I do? I lay in the tummy of my mummy. Why did I lie in the tummy of my mummy? Karma phala. This was the result of past actions. Because in the last life, if I had gained this knowledge, would I be lying in the tummy of my mummy? Absolutely not. There is no rebirth. But that means what? I made a mistake in the last life. What was the mistake? Self-ignorance was there. That is the original sin, the original mistake. We don't call it sin, but I was just saying that, there are certain similarities here. I gave once on request, somebody, I think it was in Yogaville, right? Chris was there. In Yogaville, there was some people said, can you give a talk on Jesus and Vedanta? And this is really what we discussed. What we call Atma Ajnanam, self-ignorance, is what is called the original sin. You can look at it like that. This is what should we say? A Vedantic perspective on the Bible. Many Christians will not agree, but that's okay. This is just for fun we are doing that, to see the similarities. And so, Adav, in the beginning, I lay in the mother's womb, being photographed through ultrasound at 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, all these things. And why did I lie there? Because I had already made a mistake. A series of mistakes led to this birth. And what was the original mistake? Was to not be able to address the roots of this self-ignorance. By turning towards bhakti and jnanam, to knowledge, through or karma yoga, nothing I did. I didn't do anything. And so here I am. Ta-da! It's back. What is back? Ajnanam is back. Ajnanam does not just float around by itself. What is back along with Ajnanam? Ajnani, the one who owns up and one who is tormented by the Ajnanam, is back. Yeah, it's like this baby in the womb is like a poltergeist. It is back. It's back. What to do now? Adav, karma prasangat, because of the association with wrong karma, because of the mistakes. Kalayati kalusham matra kukshau sthitam mam. For me, lying in the mother's womb as a result of the previous births, what am I doing? What am I undergoing? I'm undergoing a kind of cooking. Yeah, 9 months of cooking. Cookery is happening. 9 months of being cooked. I'm cooked. What am I cooked in? In my own filth. Yeah, in the mother's womb there is no attached bathroom. Okay? Yeah. There is no attached bathroom. The child continues to feed as it continues to grow. I'm just being cooked in my own number 1, number 2, number 3. Whatever happens is just there. And I'm there alone with it. Think about it. We think, the baby in the womb is nice and safe and wonderful. What safe? What wonder? Yeah, look at it this way. Yeah, Adi Shankara, is very doesn't mince words here. Yeah, so in the beginning, I'm being cooked in my own filth. And Adi Shankara doesn't, he says, in my own feces and urine, I'm being cooked. And then, something is missing in this one, but doesn't matter. One page I think has gone. And then being cooked. And then, this is the problem. And then you don't even know what all problems I have. Thank you, sorry. So, you don't even know what all problems I had. Because in the womb, can I talk? Say no. No. Yeah. Can I walk? No, I can't. I can neither walk. Can I talk? No, I can't talk. I can't walk. I can't do anything. And then what? Who can narrate the sufferings of, prenatal problems? Prenatal problems, there are so many. Suddenly they do one ultrasound, hole in the heart. Hole in the heart of what? This little being who is not yet born. And so then they have to first torment the mother, cut through and then go through in utero operation. I met one such a surgeon who does all this. And then they have this tiny scalpel, tiny hook, tiny these things, tiny, and tiny little sutures to repair the tiny hole in the tiny heart that is yet to be formed. Think about this. And then sometimes there are so many other things that can go wrong. They say that they are what called congenital defects. Means defects that formed along with the birth, even before the birth. This is all shakyate kena bhaktum. Who can talk about it? And the first sorry is for being born again. Why? Because I didn't take care. I didn't take care of my ignorance in the last life. Please, you have to, now that I'm being born, I'm being cooked in this, have mercy on me. Give me a life that is conducive to taking care of this, at least in this life. Please do that. Now the child is out, verse number 2, and then now the child is what? Oh, playing, having a nice childhood? No. No. बाल्ये दुःखातिरेको मललुलितवपुः स्तन्यपाने पिपासा नो शक्तश्चेन्द्रियेभ्यो भवगुणजनिताः जन्तवो मां तुदन्ति नानारोगादिदुःखाद् रुदनपरवशः शङ्करं न स्मरामि क्षन्तव्यो मे पराधः शिव 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 भो श्रीमहादेव शम्भो क्षन्तव्यो मे पराधः शिव 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 भो श्रीमहादेव शम्भो बाल्ये childhood also things did not look up. Maybe I kept smiling and laughing because that's what the parents expected me to do, but really it was not a ball. Why? Dukkha atirekaha, incessant sorrows. Atirekaha means excessive sorrows. Not only incessant sorrows, they were excessive sorrows. What was the first sorrow? The nappy was not changed when I needed it. So lying in the filth continues. Why? Because the stupid parents don't understand that I have a particular cry for nappy change. They don't see that. They just keep feeding me. That's not going to help. That's going to make more filth, in fact. And so they don't understand. Mala lulita vapuhu. A body that was rolling around in its own filth. Childhood was marked by that. And then, not only that, I had an addiction. I was addicted at birth. Oh, did the parents use drugs? No such thing. I was addicted at birth to the thing called the breast. I was addicted to the breast milk. Stanyapane pipasa, patum ichha, the desire to drink which has become an addiction. Stanyapane. So where is mummy? Because breast and mummy are together. They're not, milk and mummy go together. So you don't look for the milk in the bottle in the fridge. What do you look for? You look for the carrier of the milk, mummy. Mummy represents security, mummy represents love, mummy represents food. That's why even today, in adulthood also we have an expression, comfort food. Comfort food means what? Comfort food is not food because you are hungry. Comfort food is food where you want to feel some love coming from the food because the child is innocent. It cannot, its brain is not developed. So for it is enmeshed security, food, nurturing, love, comfort is all just glommed into one. This is at the age of 2 months, but even at 92 we don't do any better. We haven't outgrown that. Only thing is we don't look for mummy, we look for what the mummy represents. Mashed potatoes. See, everything starts with M. Comfort food. Yeah. We start off as carby babies and then we end up also full of these carbohydrates, etc. They do something to the brain. I don't know what, somebody will have to tell. Dopamine, all these things, they help. And then they allow the emotions of satiety and some kind of comfort to come. And they promise instant gratification. So even in the later years, that same addiction for mummy's milk, even though you say, I am vegan, I don't even touch milk. But the desire for what the mummy milk, this kind of mummy milk comfort represents is still there. In what ways? In very, very sneaky ways. That's why this childhood is being described in this way. Stanyapane pipasa. Even if the feeding time is even 30 seconds late, what will I do in childhood? I will set forth I will terrorize the entire household with the help of the small lungs that have been given to me by Bhagavan, and I will make the whole household know that I am being oppressed and tormented. This is the childhood. What else happens? That's just the first line of the childhood segment. Okay, there are 3 more lines. All right. Yeah. So then, no shaktah no shaktah ched no shaktasched indriyebhyah bhavaguna janita. Meaning, I have no say over my own limbs. You see a 3-month-old child, just going like this, like this, like this. Video a 3-month-old child when it is nicely fed and happy and lying down somewhere, and then you fast forward that video, see it 3 times. You just see it like this, without any meaning, without anything. It's just batting. The legs are going, the hands are going, the face is going. Everything is just because there is that restlessness. What is that restlessness? That restlessness is to understand that that this the restlessness is because that there are so many pursuits, and I am helplessly sitting here, standing here, lying down here, batting the air all day long, and I want to do so many things. The child is thinking, I'm helpless. This is the helplessness. Then the child cries. Then back to mummy and milk. That's what it is. Then again a few, okay, I'm full, I'm happy. But then even though I'm happy, I'm just still restless. And that restlessness has to be understood as the restlessness for Bhagavan, really. But did the child understand that? No. And that's what it is. The restlessness is not there. And then not only that, we will see more of this, but just briefly to translate, Jantavo mam tudanti, all the beings keep biting me. I can't even a cow is better than me. It swishes its tail and then takes care of the insects. When insects bite me, I don't know what to do. I am under their sway. And then what else? Nana rogadi dukkhat. Rudana paravashaha. My only, what should I say, defense is crying. And I am in the hands of whoever takes me wherever. If they give me up for adoption, I'm in a foster home. If the foster parents don't like me, I'm back in the orphanage. And then finally I'm adopted only for the adoptive parents to take me back. Okay, you won't do. Like this, what can I do? Shankaram nasmarami. Even at this age, at this time also, even with all these difficulties, do I think of Ishvara? Do I pray? Do I direct my pains and sorrows to the right source? What is the answer? No. Therefore, you have to, oh Bhagavan, you have to accommodate this fool, this idiot. And then let's see what happens in adulthood. At when is that? Noon time, correct? Yeah. So let's see. Noon time is reserved for 2-3 verses on adulthood. What all happens, we will see. Okay, yeah. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Thank you.
Stand for the Arati, page 83.